So this was Imaginext Adventure, and the overall idea was for us to achieve something that looked an awful lot like Flash. They had a very comic book style that they wanted to achieve, and we, of course, being a 3D shop, we don't use Flash, and we obviously much prefer all of our artists who already know how to animate within 3D space to use 3D. So the unique challenge with this was to come up with a system where we could animate in 3D, also really push things with 3D, have cameras push and a lot of parallax and a lot of great stuff that 3D offers us, but have it look like that comic book style that they're looking for. So we had to figure out a way to make the concepts work from the specific angles. So from the front angle, the character has a very different structure than it does from the 3/4 angle or from the side angle. So what I came up with for the character rigs was essentially a series of morph targets that change the character's shape, the shape of the head dramatically from angle to angle. But it also can't be arbitrary. You can't be even the slightest bit off. So everything we shot, everything we ended up rendering was basically orthographic cameras straight on at the character to keep that consistency. So what I came up with in the system was the series of buttons that sit on the head control. And all the animators have to do is hit right, for example, and you get the whole character shift to the right. And what that does is it drives a morph target on the mesh of the character to change the shape of the character's head. It's odd for sure working this way, but it just ensures accuracy and everything stays on model at all times. So the other thing that needs to happen is the eyes, and I'll just unhide their rigs, you can see a little bit more of the stuff that's happening here. Things like the eyes and the mouth. Now the eyes are geometry, but the mouth and the nose, as you can see, are just these planes that sit in front of the character. Now they also have to end up in the right place. So on hitting this button on the head control, you not only get the head rotating at the right angle to be where it needs to be, you also get all of the pieces of the face, like the eyebrows, the mouth, and the nose, moving to exactly where they're supposed to be. And the eyes themselves shifting over, because even though the eyes are 3D, their position isn't locked. So when you go to a 3/4, they actually have to change size. The outside eye gets smaller and the closer eye gets bigger. Just that's part of staying on model with what their designs were. And as you can see, if we go to the right view of this character, a side view, it's a very different character, just in terms of the shape of the head, but this was very specific with their designs. So coming from front to side, you can see there's just a dramatic change in the mesh. So we had to do things like have geometry for the nose, except when we are front on, all of that just gets sucked in flat into the face. So it's figuring out things like that, and then figuring out how to do this in such a way that it was all just in a button. The animators didn't have to worry about dialing all these different things and sticking them in exactly where they're supposed to be. And once we actually figured that out, banging out these rigs became incredibly fast. The other major hurdle we had with this was the rendering style. So again, they want a comic book style, so we had to come up with something that would work for the look of it. We kicked around tons of different ideas on how to do outlines. Eventually we settled on doing it with Final Tune plugin. So as you can also see, it renders very fast. We used 3ds Max's default scanline renderer because working with flat shaded for everything, it just worked the best. It gives us great anti-aliasing that we don't have to worry about any of that stuff. It gives us completely nice flat colors rendered very, very quickly, because which we needed to get the show finished. And once we'd solved the line issues and we'd solved the model and consistency issues, we were able to animate this whole show incredibly quickly. One TD and a handful of animators to take on essentially a whole TV show. And also able to do great stuff that you just can't do in Flash. You can we have these great camera moves completely rotating around characters. We have pushing and parallax and all this great stuff that just would not have been able to be achieved unless we were in 3D space.